Hey Kai, so we're ready to read part 3 of Diary of a Roblox Noob. If you remember, Red was training and sent on a mission with Blue, and Blue wasn't really into hanging out with Red and was being a little bit of a bully. But then the lights went out and Blue was attacked. So maybe there is an imposter among them. Diary of a Noob, entry number 3. There is a killer among us. The tension in the meeting room hung over our heads like a guillotine. A guillotine is a thing that cuts your head off. I was sweating inside my spacesuit, and I was sure that everyone else was too. It had been my dream to be a crew member of the Starcrest. Now I would rather have been anywhere but on the ship. I've called this emergency meeting because of what happened earlier. As you all know, someone attacked and killed Blue. He was stabbed behind the back, Captain Gray said. No one said anything. Blue's death was still fresh and heavy in our minds. We all sat at the edges of our seats. Captain Gray sat at the end of the table, and the table was rounded out by Yellow, the engineer, and Green, the maintenance man, who we had been looking for in the first place. My trainer and mentor, Black, sat beside me. There was an empty seat at the table that was supposed to be for Blue. I felt terrible. I mean, Blue had come out with me, with how he didn't like me. He had even socked me. That means he punched him before he croaked. But I still couldn't help but feel bad about all of this. I think it would be best if we reviewed the circumstances surrounding Blue's death, Captain Gray said. That's easy enough. The power suddenly went out, and it was decided that we would look for Green, Yellow said. And we didn't find Green. Instead, Blue, I wanted to finish my sentence, but I couldn't. It's all right, Noob. It's understandable. If you're still in shock about this, we all are. This is terrible to say the least, Doc White said. You did the right thing contacting the captain immediately, Black said as he placed a hand on my shoulder. Yes, Captain Gray said. The fact is, there's a killer among us, an imposter who has killed one of the crew. That's why I called this emergency meeting, to ferret out the killer and eject him from the ship. We will talk this out, and when we're done, one of us will board an escape pod that I have programmed to be sent to the central prison back on Earth. There they'll be held pending a trial and further investigation. We had to figure out who had killed Blue, but no one wanted to be the one on board that was sent straight to prison in an escape pod. The stakes in the emergency meeting were now very high. Well, it wasn't me. No way. I was nowhere near that place when Blue got stabbed, Yellow said. I could feel the tension. No one had even been accusing Yellow. No one is saying it's you, Yellow. That's why we're all here, to talk this out and see who really did this, Doc White said. And you guys can't say I did it either. I mean, I was several rooms away when it happened. When the lights went out, I was all the way down at Shields. That's a lot of real estate to cover to get to Blue and Red, Green said. Captain Gray didn't say anything. He scanned the room slowly. Any one of us could be the killer, and we had to figure it out. Well, I don't like this whole emergency meeting thing. I think it's all a big setup. A setup so the real killer can get away and kill us all. If you ask me, I know who the real killer is. He was really agitated now. In fact, he was starting to look suspicious. Is that so? Who do you think it is then? Doc White said. Yellow stood up and suddenly pointed an accusing finger at me. Don't you all see who it is? It's Red. My eyes almost popped out of my head, and I leaned back in my seat. Me? Why would you say it's me? I said. Now wait a minute just here, Yellow. You're out of line. He wouldn't do anything like that. I can vouch for the kid. Red's a hard worker with a good attitude, Black said. I was relieved that Black was quick to step up in my defense, but Yellow wouldn't hear any of it. Am I the one out of line here, Black? Or maybe it's you. Maybe you're just defending him because he's your little pet. Of course you would think he could do no wrong. You're training him. And don't try to play coy with us, Red or Noob. We all know that Blue didn't like you the moment you stepped aboard his ship. That's a motive if you ask me. And you were right beside him when it happened. No one really saw what happened. There, you could easily say that you conveniently found him when the truth is you probably stabbed him in the back. That's crazy. I would never do something like that, even to someone who didn't like me. I was surprised at the sound of my own voice. I sounded really defensive now. I guess this was only natural considering that Yellow was suddenly accusing me like this. It worried me, though, because perhaps he was really making me look guilty in front of everyone. You wouldn't now, would you? Blue said it before. You're a new crew member. You just won a silly contest to get on board. We don't even know who you are. We've barely spent time with you. You could easily have set all this up. I didn't do any of this. I'm no killer. If you ask me, it seems pretty fishy that you would suddenly accuse me at the start of the meeting. And why would you be so tense and uptight like you are, Yellow? Maybe because you're hiding something. We were all starting to shout now, and tensions were flying high. The captain stood up from his seat and waved both hands. Enough of this already. We're not here to debate or argue. We're here to find out who killed Blue and take action. It's time we take a vote on this. Who do you think is innocent? Who do you think is guilty? There's a long silence before anyone speaks. The captain's questions were heavy, but straight to the point. It was Black who broke the silence. I'm with Red. He's innocent. Because Yellow is trying to stir things up, it's clear to me that he must be trying to cover his tracks. He's the one that did it. I'm not surprised you would say that, Yellow said. How about you, Green? Who do you think did it? Captain Gray asked Green. I think Yellow's guilty, Green said softly. Yellow stood up from his chair. He was clearly shocked by Green's words. Me? How can you say that, Green? We've known each other for so long. That's exactly why I think you did it, Yellow. You've always been a nervous sort in the crew. You've always been the most uptight among us. I think the pressure of being a crew member finally took its toll on you, and you snapped. I hate to say it, but I agree with Green. I've always noticed you were tense around everyone in your job. You never really liked working here, and I think you simply lost it and did something terrible, Doc White said. She sounded more disappointed than angry, but her mind was made up. I have to agree with Green, Black, and White here. You've always been something of a loose cannon, Yellow. I'm sorry, but I think we'll have to let you go, Captain Gray said. Yellow slammed his fist on the table. I can't believe this. You've all turned on me. I'm innocent. I'm not a killer. That kid is the one who did it. Yellow was still protesting, but the captain was already walking toward him. Come along quietly, Yellow, he said. Even you, Captain Gray? Even you turn on me after all the times I've served you well? I can't believe any of this. Blue was right. You are playing favorites, and your new favorite is that new recruit over there. Well, you're going to regret this, I tell you. He's going to kill you all. Yellow was still ranting even after Captain Gray handcuffed him. He was protesting all the way to the escape pod. You're making a big mistake here, all of you! None of us said a word. Once Yellow had stepped inside, Green pressed a button, opening the ship's hatch and ejecting the escape pod. We all watched silently as the pod flew out of the ship and slowly headed back to Earth. It looked so tiny, like a grain of sand floating in the sea of the universe. Well, when you think about it, that's exactly what it was. I've made arrangements for the police to apprehend Yellow the moment he touches down, Captain Gray said. I'm not really surprised about any of this. Yellow always was a little unbalanced, Black said. At least it's finally over. The imposter has been taken care of. Now we can get back to work, Green said. Yeah, I guess. It was terrible what happened to Blue, but now we can move on. I never thought something like this would happen, Doc White said sadly. They all sounded sure that we'd seen the end of it. I really hope they were right. but something in my gut told me that they were wrong. This was far from over, and I started to wonder why I'd even wanted to be a crew member here in the first place. So, the crew seems to think Yellow is the imposter. Do you think they're right? I don't know. But I love you very much, Kai. Talk to you soon, baby.